Right, okay, let's go through these questions quickly together. Something is any waste that is a risk to health of humans or other living things. B, what's the answer?
Hazardous waste.
Yep, cool. A dark brown, crumbly material, something, something, something. Look, Emily, give you a hint, it is not brown sugar.
It's compost.
Yeah, good stuff, thank you. Yeah, Dino, 3, something is waste disposal facility where wastes are put into the ground and covered each day with a layer of plastic, dirt, or both. Dino.
Landfill.
Yeah.
I don't remember this. It is landfill.
Yeah, it's landfill. Solid waste includes all except which ones? P.
Ozone and carbon dioxide.
Yeah, ozone and carbon dioxide. They are gases. They are not solid. What does recycling mean, Mid-A?
Recycling means make things out of old ones.
Yeah, cool. Where should glass bottles be taken, Rosie?
Buyback center.
A buyback center.
Recycling bank.
Yeah, recycling bank. Good job. Well done. What should you do with your old clothes, Annie?
Give to other people.
Yep, give to other people. I like your clothes. Give me them. Group this waste. Lily.
Toxic.
Yeah, toxic waste. What is the definition of compost, Eraser?
The definition of compost is decayed organic materials as fertilizer.
Yes, good job. Thank you. Lucy, where does residual waste management need to be done properly?
To reduce that environmental effect.
Yes, cool. Good job. And Minerva, the next question, please.
And on your quiz, you will be having a quiz over the weekend. Okay? You're not going to need to know these
reduce. Good job. Well done.
thorax and
And Ava, the next question, please. Computer, what are you doing? Sorry, 1 second. If something is non-renewable, then it
can be used only once or cannot be replaced by nature.
Yeah, perfect. Good stuff. Mr. Kent, question 11.
You are in question.
Sorry, 13.
Garbage produced by household and business hazardous waste.
No, not hazardous waste.
The municipal solid waste.
Yes, municipal solid waste makes up more than half of the total waste produced. Elsa.
You looking on Dirk? Good boy, excellent. Good.
What's the answer to question 14, please?
Yes. I don't think Misha's there.
Manufacturing waste.
Yeah, manufacturing waste, right? Manufacturing waste. In what ways can we waste less food? Sky.
We should think wisely before meal if we are really capable of eating.
Yeah, good job. Well done. Okay, well done, everyone. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to jump past toxic or hazardous waste. I think you guys get it and understand it. The one thing I would like to just quickly go through is this. There are lots of different types of hazardous waste, right? And lots of different businesses or places or establishments that actually use toxic substances or hazardous substances. For example, mechanics will use toxic substances like motor oil or brake fluid or antifreeze, which are hazardous to the environment, but they're good for the car, right? Hospitals, they use radioactive material for testing machines. X-rays require radioactive material. Chemotherapy to help people who have cancer. They all have, they're all radioactive, and they all have radioactive waste, which is very, very. And then printing industries use bleach. Bleach is hydrogen peroxide, which turns things white. Okay. Anyone ever want to dye their hair blonde? No one ever want to be blonde? No. Laura, you want to dye your hair blonde? Cool. And you look like someone who would want to dye their hair blonde at some point.
No.
No. Okay. Cool. What about you, Bill? Bill, would you dye your hair?
Black hair.
No.
I want the hair.
I've had blonde hair. I've had blonde hair many times.
You have blonde hair.
No, like white hair.
Are you a grandpa?
Am I a grandpa? No.
Yeah, because you said you have white hair.
I had. Not
Mr. Ryan
will
be
a grandpa.
Mr. Ryan will be a grandpa. I have to have kids in order to be a grandpa.
You
So
need to have kids.
So you
Yes,
You have to be a grandpa.
I have to have kids to be a grandpa. Yes. Well, that's kind of how it works, right?
you have
Uh,
a kid.
Do I have kids? No, I do not have any children.
But you
Your son
should be
name.
a grandpa.
No, I should not be a grandpa. Anyway, okay. So, there you go. There is Teacher Ryan with white with.
What? I don't see anything. I just see a man lying on the chair.
That's pretty
On the
man lying on the chair with bright blonde hair. So I've had blonde hair before, but if you ever want to dye your hair blonde, you will use bleach. You use bleach to actually whiten your hair. What bleach does, it strips all the color out of something. So newspapers or like actual paper, like A4 paper, why is it so white, right? Like paper comes from trees. Trees white? No, they're not. Even the inside of a tree is not white. In order to make paper white, they add chemicals to it. They add chemicals to make the paper white. And that's a hazardous material. It's a hazardous chemical. And if you don't dispose of it correctly, it can be dangerous to the environment. So I'm going to talk about pollution today. So again, who can explain to me what is pollution? Who didn't I ask the question in the first time? Lucy, what's pollution?
Pollution is when some bad chemicals or materials get introduced into the environment.
Yeah, cool. Good answer, right? So pollution is the addition of harmful materials into the environment, whether it is air, whether it is land, whether it's water. Some can be toxic and some can be dangerous. Ming Qiu, what are some toxic forms of pollution?
Foam.
Foam? What do you mean?
Like the thing that make foam, like it is like oil. Oil can be toxic if spilled into the environment.
Yeah, cool. Good answer. Bill.
Hot air, like toxic air from factories.
Okay, yeah, cool, perfect, right. There are two pretty good answers, right? So I'm going to talk about three things in particular. I'm going to talk about smokestacks, I'm going to talk about oil spills, I'm going to talk about pesticides. So a smokestack, these are like chimneys, okay? A chimney is a smokestack is another name for a chimney. Smokestacks, you usually see them at like the top of factories, and they emit smoke high into the air. They usually come from the burning of something. Okay, they're like a chimney. One of the most famous landmarks where I'm from is called the Pigeon Stacks. They're two really tall smokestacks at the end of the port. It's actually a coal burning factory for electricity, and it's also an incinerator as well. So this they're two really tall smokestacks, and they burn, but they release toxic substances into the air. They release hazardous gas into the. You see them on top of factories, you can see them at energy burning plants, you see them in incinerators. They basically release toxic smoke into the sky. Oil tankers. Oil tankers are really big ships. They sail across the ocean and they sail from place to place, and they carry lots and lots of oil. They're huge ships. However, sometimes when they crash, they can cause an oil spill and release all of the oil they're carrying into the ocean. A lot of those situations result very bad. Has anyone ever heard of the Deepwater Horizon? I've never heard of this. An oil platform in the Gulf of Mexico, I think, and it erupted, and one of the pipes blew and resulted in one of the most ridiculous and cataclysmic oil spills ever in history. I have a picture for you. I'll show you one of the pictures, but the damage to wildlife, and this was like nearly 6-7 years ago, it's still happening. There's still, the wildlife and the environment is still damaged. Because the last one I want to talk about is pesticides, and it's in the name, pesticide. Side means to kill, right? Side means to kill, so pesticide means to kill pests. So they are hazardous chemicals that are used to prevent crops from being eaten by insects or by anything that would come to try and eat them. So what happens is the pesticide is sprayed on the crops, and the crops are then protected from insects that would try to eat them. As the insect tries to eat them, the insect dies. But in doing that, pesticides can actually be quite harmful to the ground. They could actually be harmful to people. If the crops are not washed correctly, the pesticides can be hazardous to us as well, because we eat the food, right? So there are three forms of pollution that come from man-made situations. So here you have an oil spill, right? You can see the oil is just, it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Smokestacks, look at the amount of hazardous waste being put there, and here, everything sprayed in pesticides. People do not go near them. It is harmful, it is toxic. So of those three, smokestacks, oil spills, or pesticides, which one do you think is the worst in terms of toxic waste or hazardous waste?
I think it's the oil spill
Why do you think?
because the ocean is very large, and when those oil spills happens, it destroys the environment and the sea animals' lives.
Yeah, very true.
Sometimes when people are stupidly diving there, they could be
What if they're stupidly diving to clean up?
they're gonna die. Just that they're
No, they won't. Lucy, what about you? What do you
I think that if the thing that affects a human, then I think it is the pesticide. Because like it can cause like a when it is toxic and it is spray onto our vegetable, and when the when we eat it, then like it will be poisonous, and some animals can also eat it, and the chemicals and get into the animal, and then we eat that animal.
That's a really, really good train of logic. Good job. Yeah, like it's very hard to sit down and say which one is worse, right? You can make an argument for absolutely every single one of them. You can say that smokestacks, they release hazardous waste into the sky, which then increases the amount of acid rain. Acid rain then falls, it erodes rock, which then gets into water, which is then drank by humans. Pesticides, well, we eat the food and the pesticide's not cleaned, it can kill us. There's it used to be the longest word in the English dictionary. It used to be called dichlorodiphenyl-chloroethane. It was a chemical called DDT that was used in America in the 1960s. It was a pesticide, but the pesticide, it worked really well, killed lots and lots of insects, but also really, really damaged a lot of people who ate the food. There were a lot of birth defects. There was a lot of problems with people. A lot of cancer occurred because, and it related back to the use of this pesticide. So we have to be very careful when we use pesticides, right? And oil spills as well. They damage the environment. They damage the ecosystem of the ocean. We eat the fish, causes damage to us. Fish don't go somewhere, causes overfishing. You can make a lot of arguments for it, okay? But just to remember that they all have some impact, and they all have some impact to people as well. So I have a video about oil spills, just because oil spills are the one that probably you guys are probably most aware of. So have a look, have a listen, and we'll talk about it after. Not very long.
Hey there! Welcome to Life Noggin. The world uses nearly countless amounts of oil every year in one form or another. The United States alone has been consuming a total of over 7 billion barrels of petroleum products a year, or around 20 million barrels a day in recent times. This reliance on fossil fuels has its own host of long-term environmental problems, but when you have an oil spill, you create another world of issues. Oil spills can happen for a variety of reasons, from careless mistakes or equipment breaking down to natural disasters like hurricanes. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, there are thousands of oil spills that occur in the U.S. waters every year. That said, most are relatively small compared to the big ones that make the news, often spilling less than 1 barrel of oil. However, in the past 50 years or so, there has been over 44 oil spills, each over 10,000 barrels or 420,000 gallons of oil, that have impacted U.S. waters. These spills have the potential to be very harmful to the environment, marine life, and even humans. After a spill, since oil is less dense than water, it will typically float on the surface of the water. It doesn't just stay there in some big glob though. What usually happens is that the oil will rapidly spread out over the surface of the water until it becomes a thin layer of oil known as an oil slick. Then it keeps spreading out until it forms a super thin layer called a sheen. But that thin layer of oil can be a big problem. Our fur-bearing mammal friends, like the adorable sea otter, can lose their ability to insulate themselves when covered in oil, and birds can lose the water repellency of their feathers. Without proper insulation, they can end up dying from hypothermia. Not to mention, if they try to clean themselves, they might ingest some of that oil. While fish, shellfish, and other underwater creatures can come into contact with oil if it's mixed into a water column. Adult fish can experience fin erosion when exposed to oil, as well as reduced growth rates and enlarged livers. It can also hinder their reproduction. Even if they can successfully make eggs, the oil can negatively impact egg and larval survival. What's worse is that these kinds of things can last long after the news stops covering them. You know the BP oil spill that happened about a decade ago? Some reports claim that animals are still being negatively impacted by the lasting effects of the spill, even though cleanup has largely gotten rid of the initial problem. So that brings up the question, how do we actually clean up this oil then? Well, oil spill cleanup can involve a bunch of different tools, including floating barriers called booms, chemical dispersions, and
Cool, that's enough for now. So again, oil spills, super bad, right?
Hey there.
Oh, bye-bye, little stick man. Okay, so oil spills they're super bad. Oh, hello, James. Thanks for joining the class. It's 8 minutes left. Thank you so much. Okay, so what did we learn from Pink Stick Man or Cool? What did you pick up from the video?
They use barrels, special floating barrels to collect the oil from the oil spills.
So
to clean up.
So you remembered the last 5 seconds of the video. Fantastic.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Oh, excuse me.
We could make the oil spills can the oil can decrease the amount of animal in the ocean by harming fish eggs and
perfect, cool, good answer. So again, oil spills, the effect and the pollution of them is pretty bad, right? Just something to keep in mind. So help me with these. What is litter? What's litter?
Can contaminate water and soil if it leaks.
No, monkey, what's litter?
Litter is waste that is thrown into the environment rather than in a trash can.
Yeah, perfect, cool. A waste pipe. Rosie, what's a waste pipe?
A waste
Lily, what's a waste pipe?
Pipe allows liquid waste from factories to flow into the environment.
Yeah, cool, good job. Pesticides. Ava,
Could you ask the question again?
what are pesticides?
Sprayed on farm field to kill insect pests.
Yeah, cool. Smokestacks. Have I not asked much today? Sky, what are smokestacks?
A smokestack allows particles from burning substances to flow into the atmosphere.
Yep, cool. And all tanks can contaminate water and soil if leaks. Cool, good job. Okay, so we can. Yeah, this is really long. Okay, we'll just do this one, and then I'll give you guys your homework. Who would like to read? Okay, Lily.
This one.
Yes, of course.
Pollution. When harmful substances get into the air, water, or soil, the result is pollution. Pollution harms living things. Sometimes people think of pollution as something that happens out there in the environment. However, it is important to understand that you are part of the environment too. You must breathe air, drink water, eat food in order to live. If harmful substances or pollutants get into air, water, and soil, chances there are they are getting into you too.
Yeah, cool, good job. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I'll continue this next thing. Oh, sorry. So for your homework, what I want you to do is for those of you that have done it already, it's a good chance for you to review. I want you to do the next 2 slides of your PowerPoint, okay? I want you to take the time and do the next 2 slides and try remember the flow of your PowerPoint, okay? The direction in which PowerPoint is moving. So take your time to answer the questions correctly about what you're trying to answer with your PowerPoint. Work together as a team and do the next 2 slides of your PowerPoint as well. And what I'm going to do is I'll send you a Google form with some of this reading comprehension and with some of the questions that follow it up as well. Okay, does anyone have any questions in the meantime about their PowerPoint or about pollution, about their project, anything in general?
No,
Now is it okay? Thanks, Mochi.
but I have one question about not about the PowerPoint.
Okay, what's your question?
What team you support at Euro?
What team? Manchester United.
Oh no, I said that the Euros.
Oh, in the Euros. Like Ireland aren't in the Euros this year, so I'm gonna have to support England. I still think France will win. I think, yeah, England, 100%. Lily, no. Laura, do you have a question? No. Okay, right. Make sure to get that PowerPoint done. Focus on answering the question correctly. Remember to add pictures. Remember, you're going to have to talk to people, and that your classmates have very, very limited attention spans. So make sure you put something in there that's fun. Also think about how you are going to present it too, right? Think about your talk track. Think about how you're going to speak about the presentation when it's being done. Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.